up to date, and credible. Power 102 Digital.
That's exactly who we are. Good morning, neighbors. Good morning, neighbors. One more time, just for good luck. Good morning, neighbors. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. Monday morning, most parts of the country will get some rain. There's some lightning, and there is some thunder. I actually got in the Port of Spain just as beginning to rain. I know in Arima it's raining, so I say good morning to Wendell.
Morning, Steve. Morning, Paul. Morning, Richard.
Yeah.
And good morning to Trinidad and Tobago.
It's raining up your side.
Thunder and lightning.
Yeah,
It's raining all over the world.
yeah. Morning, Paul. How you going?
Morning, guys. Good Monday morning, dark morning, rainy morning. But I love rain, but I know you all don't particularly like the rain.
But they don't like the rain. I love the rain. My plants are going, yeah. It is 24 degrees at both Piarco International Airport and also at Crown Point in Tobago. What's the weather going to be like for today? I'm now pulling it up. I'm so organized. It has not been updated as yet. Public warning is in effect. Or riverine, yes. Some parts in south and central having some flood from the rains yesterday. Overnight yesterday. I did not hear a thing. All right, but as soon as it's updated, I'll let you know. Traffic wise, let's see what's happening on the highways and on the byways. Please take your time. All right. If you're leaving San Fernando itself is lighter than usual, but you got some traffic pretty much just after Claxton Bay. Slow going. Yes, please take your time. Slow going until the interchange. Heavy from Maloney to UE, slow going in the Port of Spain. Eastern Main Road, not that bad. Just by McCoy and Pagé, you've got some traffic, nothing out of the west. All right. Let's see who sent us hellos this Monday morning. Let's see. Monday. There we go. Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Trev and Arima, you came in second. Maria Marva, third. Godzillion Valencia, I'm sure it's pouring down that side. Sankofa, good morning. Ms. Maloney Dudu, have a fantastic week. Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona. Rena Boodoo Jennings, Carol here or Carol again. Oliver Man Warren, good morning. I will buzz you today. Let's see. Any more? Let me just do one more check to see the hellos one more time. Let's see. Got it here. Any more hellos coming through? Yep, we've got DJ. No, yep. Oh no, we got DJ Sleepy. That's right. Good morning to you as well. All right. So that's your WTs there. Hope it'll help you out in one way or the other. When I was driving in, gentlemen, I was seeing some lightning, and it's quite dark and black clouds in the east and in central and south.
Yeah, I suspect all over the island has rain this morning.
Yes. Constant rain in San Fernando. Thank you so much, sexy San Fernando. I was trying, but it didn't work out properly. So
but you can do it. So just put back you on you had before.
It's telling me to blur and all kind of. It did not uploading anything.
You had it before, so it can be doing.
Yeah,
it can be done again.
Here we go. I will do this until I figure it out.
Yeah, that's better. That's a lot better.
When I figure it out, I'll dig in.
But your face brings into the blur, but that's not also a bad thing. So
I will deal with you. When we chatting with Anita Haynes this morning, I will I'll fiddle with it. All right.
We're using a new stream today, I'm assuming.
Yes, this one corrected the YouTube issue we were having.
Oh, okay.
There was some issue with the other one on the YouTube.
That before, haven't we?
Yes, we've used this before.
Yes.
And that's generally the same. Good morning, Sabita. Have a wonderful day yourself.
Hi, morning, Sabita. Sabita BSA.
Yeah. So the YouTube audio from the studio and Steve has been rectified by this program, this platform. The other one, I don't know. Still to advance to that board Steve has there.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Like your background, though.
Mine?
Yeah.
I'm at the Villa in France this week.
Listen, Paul, can you just move across to the piano and give us a little piece of music?
Later on in the show.
Okay, wonderful.
I think I didn't see it in the news, but I think the Prime Minister is also due to host a press conference later on today.
Yes.
2 o'clock 2 p.m. today.
What time?
I think it's 2 p.m.
Yeah, at the Diplomatic Center. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it that we can't make quieter rubbish trucks in Trinidad and Tobago?
Oh, Jesus.
It's like a power washer. I'm wondering why after all these years a power washer can't be quieter than it is. Or
the rubbish trucks freak me out. It's like, why you have to be so noisy?
And at 3-4 in the morning in some places.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by me, thankfully, it's not that early. But
morning, Marcia.
Yeah, I don't hear the garbage truck. Ray, morning.
Good morning, Ray.
And CJ in New York, good morning to you as well, Charmaine. Hope all is well. So
we actually getting even images of people coming up on the screen there.
The images always came up, but
yeah, it always does.
They feel free to put other images that they like.
I've never seen the images before.
No. You're sheltered sort of so.
Maybe I've never.
I worked all weekend.
But I wanted to comment quickly on an article that the Express newspaper wrote yesterday, Sunday Express. Now they started apparently to do a series on the 14 municipalities, and they started yesterday. Kim Budram was the article writer. They started yesterday with the Port of Spain.
Kim, long time.
Yeah, morning Kim. Very nice, very very nice girl. I've met Kim on many occasions. But I need to contact Kim today because that article was so completely not about the Port of Spain City Council. Because the first person they went to interview, and they did a series of interviews, they interviewed someone from the Beetham estate. Beetham is not in Port of Spain. It is in San Juan Laventille. Then they interviewed somebody from Piccadilly Street. Piccadilly Street is in Port of Spain. But I don't know how they went and find the one person from Haiti, who was originally from Haiti, a Haitian national. Then they went to Maraval, Upper Maraval, okay? And they interviewed someone who is a friend of mine on Facebook, and I tagged him, and he said he was so angry after because they didn't tell him what the interview surrounded anything about Port of Spain. They asked him about infrastructure in things in his area, so he spoke about it. But they put a picture of him, his mini mart and his comments as an indicting Port of Spain City Council. And I'm saying, come on, man. So the first thing the article needs to do is get boundaries. Find out the boundaries of the municipalities you're going to do and work within those boundaries. Port of Spain is Belmont, is Gonzales, part of Gonzales, right? Is Sealots. Part of is Bellis.
Abercrombie Street as well.
It is Central Port of Spain. It is Woodbrook. It is St. James. That's Port and part of Cocorit. How are you reaching all up in Upper Maraval? And
yeah, but what did they say?
Huh?
What did they say?
No, what did who say?
What did the people say that they interviewed?
The people talked about the infrastructure and the challenges they are facing, but they are indicting the Port of Spain City Corporation in something that the Port of Spain Corporation has no responsibility for.
Well, let me tell you what the Port of Spain City Corporation is responsible for.
Steve,
that massive pothole on Abercrombie Street's been there for years.
Look, I can't take this morning, no? Because you're completely missing what I'm trying to say.
No, I understand what you're trying to say.
And no, because I said Port of Spain have several issues, but you can't go to people out of the city to talk about the city. You can't go to districts out of the city.
You must send Kim Budram's telephone number for you. You'll give her a call.
That don't make sense. That just don't make sense.
Why can't I speak to the people out of the city to speak about the city? The people may be using the city. It is the capital.
Oh dear Lord, you missing the thing too? Go and read the article now. They're talking about where these people live in. It is not in the city. That's what the article is talking about.
I understand.
I understand what you're saying, yeah.
But I said that from early. They went to first someone in the Beetham. They went to Upper Maraval. They went to somebody in the Diego Martin region, in the Sawal Avantil region. Those are the places they went to find out about their circumstances. The only person they spoke to in the city was somebody from Piccadilly Greens. And I don't know how they just managed to find somebody who from Haiti.
And they find Twiggy?
You know, so the article just don't make sense at the end of the day.
But Wendell, please use your office now. Get this pothole fixed on Abercrombie Street now, please.
I
have no office again.
I have no office again. I sent those messages onwards. I know that there was a story I saw someday last week about the bitumen shortage that they've been experiencing being addressed, because that was an issue for the entire country, not just for the city. And it was in a GSC, I think. Paul, I don't know if you were part of that GSC.
No, I wasn't.
I think I see it was being chaired by Miss Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal, I think.
It must be land and physical infrastructure.
Yeah. Where they were talking about the bitumen shortage, you know. So but I hope to get in touch with the Express newspaper today. First thing, you're doing a series like that, find out your boundaries. Find out the boundaries of the municipality you're doing. Because
that's not a difficult thing that's available everywhere.
You think so?
Google that.
Particularly for a journalist.
That's
We're going to do a series covering local government election, which I think I saw the headline and the Express says they're taking you on the road as we count down to local government election. The first thing the journalists need to do is identify the boundaries and the names of the municipalities, I would imagine.
Yeah. How difficult is that?
No. Well, the Galil rifle has been found and 2 people charged.
Yeah, I didn't follow up on that story. They found it in Moncrief or something.
But receiving a stolen item. They didn't charge them with taking it or anything, but with receiving a stolen item, which amounts to misbehavior in public office. Or it could be in addition to misbehavior in public office. 2 men are Brandon Monsami, he's from Makoya, and Ronaldo Wanza.
Are they both soldiers?
Well, I think one has been identified as a private, so I imagine he's a soldier.
Right.
And if they both charged with misbehavior in public office, I would assume it would suggest the other one is also a soldier.
Oh. Was there a female charged?
You know, there was conversation on social media that a female was involved, but that never was confirmed.
Oh, okay. All right. I haven't seen that. Is that a story in today's papers?
It started. It was disseminated from last night.
Okay, I'll check it out. I haven't seen the story on the soldiers, the Galil rifle.
And there were 6 murders over the weekend.
Yeah, 2 in Tunapuna heard of.
I know there was a Bellevue, Donald Hill, I think, a Bellevue side, because I have a friend who lives up there, and he actually sent me the video of the body, the guy, young man who was killed in the road, because a lot of people came out, and he said it was crazy that night. He said the amount of shooting he heard.
Mm-hmm.
I say, what is this?
While there was 6 murders is bad enough, Jamaica was plunged into shock when an 8-year-old was killed, and in a horrible manner. Not that there could be a good manner that an 8-year-old could be killed. But her throat was slashed and her body thrown out of a car.
What?
In St. Andrew.
8-year-old?
8-year-old, you said?
Yeah, 8-year-old. Passers-by found her and took her to hospital while they were treating her. She died. An 8-year-old. So when you think, 6 murders is nothing to sneeze about. It's not a good report at all about Trinidad and Tobago. But I don't know what could drive someone to slash the throat of an 8-year-old anywhere in the world.
Yeah, boy.
So, and guess what happened when that occurrence took place? And we were talking Steve, you may have been you were off on Friday.
Yeah.
Our suggestion was that after the Marcel brothers were victorious in their court matter against the TTPS and awarded, I think it's just over $600,000 and $80,000 plus to the attorneys. And we thought the commissioner of police should have seized the opportunity to hold a press conference, apologize to the Marcel brothers for the trauma they endured, including kicking down the door. What is it? Is it malicious excuse of a warrant or something like that?
Yeah, Melissa's,
And some other nefarious activities. Apologize to them as the head of the organization and vow to stamp out police overreach of any kind. No, and what you do is you tell the public, I know mistakes have been made, but I am here to stamp out that sort of activity, not a peep. Hear what happened in Jamaica when this 8-year-old was murdered. Jamaica's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, the Commissioner of Police, Major Anthony Anderson, and representatives from the Jamaica Constabulary Force visited the home of the family of the girl who was killed.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Visited her in a public show of support because they understand the importance of that sort of activity. From the highest level of the cabinet to the police, the commissioner, to members of the police service, police force, because they understand it's a horrible act that just cannot be allowed to just slide as if it's a normal day in the city.
Exactly.
You understand? And to show that it is a heinous act and that they can't just bypass it and not have show some sort of public denouncement of it and the support of the family in a very difficult time. Our police service don't seem to get that. So those are opportunities. And it's not being opportunistic. It is understanding public relations and communications matter. And not only in particularly with emotional cases like that.
Yeah.
Because if you want public trust and confidence and want public support, you have to work on building it.
Yeah.
Because the city police service has an atrocious record with public abuse in some cases.
So we haven't heard from the TTPS in a little while, have we?
I had an interesting conversation with a former member of the TTPS yesterday.
Oh, really? Nobody listened. Tell us.
But I got a congratulatory call from former Commissioner Jacob. We had a lovely conversation.
Yeah, we haven't heard from them for a little while.
Well, we haven't heard from them on here. And just like Paul, I get a call every so often. Hey, how you going? I'll say, I'll come in for doubles and coffee. Yeah.
Interesting conversation, which I shall not divulge.
Yeah. Well, yes. I hear you, because I would have had one. Well, let me not say anything because he told me not to even say we talk. So I wouldn't even say. I can say that now, but I couldn't say then when we spoke. You know?
All I would say is tisk.
Yes.
Tisk.
So I'm seeing the story about the regiment, the Galil Rifle. It says a private in the Trinidad and Tobago regiment is one of 2 people who have been charged. Private Ronaldo Wanza. So Ronaldo Wanza, he's 22 years old. Listen, he's 22. And his alleged accomplice, Brandon Munsami, 30, were charged for offenses based on advice from the DPP. The soldier has been charged with 2 offenses of misbehavior in public office, 1 offense of larceny of the weapon, the illegal transfer of the weapon, possession of a prohibited weapon, and possession of ammunition. Munsami was charged alongside Wanza for misbehavior in public office with transferring a firearm and receiving the rifle knowing it to be stolen.
Wow.
What is wrong with these young fellas?
They're in real trouble.
Oh, yep. God. I would assume the security officers
are in a lot of trouble.
And again, appears to be in trouble as well.
Look at the difference in the approach and execution of the TT Defense Force versus the TT Police Service in a case like that.
Yeah.
Any police, that'll be just another gun missing. It's another gun, When you
That
see the
has
defense
happened.
force, you see that they left no stone unturned there.
None.
The day after, within 24 hours, they held a press conference about the missing rifles. They didn't wait for the public to get misinformation and disinformation about it. They disseminated the facts as they happened, and they launched an island-wide manhunt for those responsible and to recover the weapon, which was done. And now, and right after the information from the DPP, a press release. You see how things are supposed to be done?
Yeah. I'm
Mr.
wondering
Christopher, take note.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the reward also had something to do with it. The promise of a $75,000 reward.
Could have, but
the army will find the weapons, huh?
This 75,000 is for information of these to the successful prosecution. They ain't prosecuted yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's be greater than that yet.
Yeah.
They also found a cache of high-powered rifles, and a Venezuelan national was detained and I think arrested in connection with that over the weekend. Boxes of high. No. This is a different situation. Full stop. Pivot. Move. Next story.
Okay.
I tell you, I know a DMO. I know him extremely well, and he's telling me when he goes to a crime scene, you would not believe the ammunition these guys using.
I don't know about you, but have you all ever been to emergency on a Juve morning?
You mean in the hospital? No.
Don't go. Avoid at all cost.
Listen to this other story that is
interesting. It was a war zone when I went.
What do you say?
Bandits made off with more than $0.2 million in cash on Friday when 5 of them invaded the home of a 54-year-old businessman in Charleville. At the time, the man was asleep with a 24-year-old woman. I don't know why they put all that in the story. At his Junenum
Why not? It makes it so exciting. Yeah, let's tell the story.
When they were awoken by strange noises.
Let them catch you now, and they'll put the name of the woman, the age of the woman, too, when they catch you.
Investigators said the home invasion took place around 3 a.m. It was reported to them that when the businessman and his companion woke up, they decided to investigate the source of the noise. While doing so, they found 5 masked men in the house. One of the men was armed with a firearm. Upon spotting the homeowner, police said the bandits announced a holdup before they tied up the man and his companion. They then proceeded to beat the man while demanding to know if there was any money in the house and where it was located. After finding the cash, they also stole a quantity of jewelry, electronic items, and cellular phones. Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm. It is.
I could say so much about that story, but I won't.
Please do come.
It will be judging. It will be judging, and I don't like to judge.
Why? Because it's a woman and a younger girl? Younger woman? That's why?
No, I didn't say that.
Is not old.
I still wonder. I still wonder about people keeping that amount of cash in homes. I still wonder about that. $200,000 in cash in your house.
Don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't.
I can't understand why you would do that in this environment.
Yep.
And somebody must have told them that he had that kind of cash in the place.
Well, yeah.
So they went to ask him they kept asking where the money.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So I don't know. Maybe you should be careful with what companions you're sleeping with.
Well, you have to be careful with your money and your honey.
Yeah. It is alleged that the call that went in regarding the missing rifle was
Steve, come on, you can't just let it slide just so.
And letting it
slide.
When
they'll give us a profundity there. We go down in the history books as one of the greatest things of all time. You have to be careful with your money and your honey. You can't just let it slide just so.
Well, I never see Wendell dance like what he danced on Wednesday night. I
actually enjoyed that at the time out. I haven't been out in a long time.
That's why I didn't come to work on Friday.
I enjoyed it.
Ruben said we'll be home by midnight. Because Ruben picked me up. Ruben didn't drop me home till after 3.
Well, Ruben insisted I stay for a particular performance, but no, I was too tired. I couldn't make it. And that place was packed to capacity, man. Packed. Yeah. But it was nice. It was nice coming out.
Yeah, it was a good life. I ain't gonna lie. It was a good life.
Yeah. What else is happening in the news today? Happy birthday to all of you celebrating birthdays today. Yesterday, I know it was Marcia Chan Park's birthday was yesterday. Belated birthday greetings, Marcia. Today would have been Marina Huggins' birthday. That was the mother of my first children. She passed away, of course. Today would have been her birthday. And who else? And whoever else is celebrating birthdays today, have a great day.
My niece is celebrating her 3rd birthday today.
I got a political tour over the weekend.
Well, local government elections is heating up.
Hold on, Randall, hold on.
Diego Martin Administrative Regional Complex, is that what it's called?
Diego Martin Regional Complex, yes.
Yeah, over the weekend, Prime Minister came back from Barbados, clearly, and was in attendance, and delivered an address at the opening of the Diego Martin Regional Administrative Complex.
They might have to change that name, though, because Diego Martin is now to become a borough.
Wait, that now open?
It's still Diego Martin.
Yeah, but so I'm saying the word regional.
No, I don't call it a borough complex.
Yeah, the word regional might have to come out, might have to be changed.
Yeah. Let's say good morning going on to Kazim Mohammed, DS Lips, Celeste, Anthony Tinto. Good morning to you as well. Dennis, Trini Jam, good morning. Hope you guys have a great day.
As you say, Anthony Tinto, you saw that system, the new ETA system, crashed and caused a lot of distress for passengers. They were overwhelmed. The system was overwhelmed and it crashed. And a lot of people got stranded. Yeah, boy. A lot of people got stranded. They said the most amount of applications came from people in the Philippines. Yeah, but the system crashed over the weekend.
There you go.
Yep.
You want to explain to folks what ETA means?
Oh, we would have spoken extensively about that on Friday too, Paulette.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We just brief it up so people who did not listen on Friday will know.
Yeah. Paul, go take it away.
No.
Well, Steve can't take it away.
No, I don't know.
It's the new visa-less system, they're calling it, to enter Canada. Right. If you have a U.S. non-immigrant visa and also a Canadian visa that might have expired, you can still just go online and pay, I think it's $7 Canadian.
Yeah.
And you apply for this ETA, which is, what's the what's transit, what? Sorry. What's the ETA mean, Paul? Let me get it. Hold on.
Travel something.
Yeah. The article just
electronic travel something
and disappear, you know.
Electronic travel, that's normal for you.
No, it was right there at the top. And
electronic travel, normally you're accustomed to things, but being it up and disappear so far. I see you're accustomed to that by now.
Yeah, true,
At your age.
Where it going, boy? Anyway. What is that? What is that? Somebody sent me here. Anyway. It crashed over the weekend. That much I could tell you. Right? It crashed over the weekend. So hopefully they'll get it back up and running. And I think I also just saw an article concerning the UK traveling, charging a $12 UK fee. I just saw that somewhere too. I don't know what that is about. So,
well, I know people were very happy about the Canada thing. Before we move on, let's just elaborate on the good news now.
Alvin Jones giving Trinidad and Tobago the lead.
Yeah.
Melvin Jones giving Trinidad and Tobago the lead.
Won a football match.
Right, that's versus Guatemala, right?
Yep.
Yes, Trinidad and Tobago won 1-0. So congratulations to Angus and his team out
That's
there.
right. Let's congratulate the guys.
Yes, well done, well done.
Extremely
and
well done.
congratulations to Novak Djokovic. Oh, I enjoyed that tennis yesterday. He is now one of the most successful Grand Slam players ever.
Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
23 Grand Slam titles. Well done.
That's like you. How many Grand Slam titles you have?
Probably a little more than that. A little more than that.
I know you're a Grand Slam, so.
You just drive people crazy. The among the messages I just get about you, eh?
I could really imagine. I know. I want to keep your relevance up there,
I tell people, listen, it's just having fun, just like.
Well, they still don't get it.
Apparently,
after all the time, they still don't get it. It's not malicious. It's just fun.
Yeah, it is.
Oh God, jeez, what you get right now? And somebody said, "Why are you always picking on?" Remember the one from the States. You always picking on when they're like so offensive. Oh, get over it. It's fun.
It's really.
Even when they're offended, when they could call me or message me, and he has never done that yet.
But when I have an issue with anything you guys say, I say it on air.
Exactly. God, let's take on things. Jesus, lighten up. Life too short. What else is happening in the news? I see Sylvia Berlusconi.
Hold on, Paul. You're not gonna get away. You started off this last segment by saying you get some Tory yesterday in the Diego Martin regional thing. And then
it wasn't in Diego Martin.
It was about Diego Martin?
It was in the other borough. The other new borough.
The other Siparia?
Yes, 638.
Well, let's hear it.
Silvio Berlusconi, the former Italian prime minister, has died at the age of 86. I mean, he is one of those very charismatic figures in Europe. I'll call you and tell you that
one. Okay. All right, cool. I look forward to that call. So it has some people literally a second after 9 o'clock. So
you may get called after 8 too.
I cool with that.
Big things are going.
I cool with that. But a lot of the UNC has been hemorrhaging, and we're gonna be speaking with MP Anita Haynes after 7 o'clock this morning.
Hemorrhaging is a strong word.
Well, that's the word I saw used in an article.
Okay.
It's hemorrhaging.
More councillors left?
Yeah, apparently, and not just councillors, like activists and so on are deserting the UNC.
Like?
Again, I have to find that article. But when we speak with Miss Anita Haynes, I'm sure she'll enlighten us as to what is happening, especially with the ones we know about. The 4 people thus far, I think, that has made themselves very public. That is the councillor in Arima, the councillor in San Fernando, the youth officer, and there was someone else, I think, another councillor somewhere, who all left the UNC in publicly, So, and how it has been affecting them, because apparently the guy in San Fernando, I think his seat is Vista Bella. He would have won that seat for the UNC because of his charisma, and now he's proposing to contest for the People's National Movement. I'm not sure if he has been screened as yet, but I know the PNM also too has been changing a lot of the candidates in almost every district thus far, in every municipality thus far that they've screened. Candidates have been changed, so I understand the candidate where I'm in St. James has been changed, and the candidate where I am in Arima has also been changed. So that's interesting. So
No.
we'll see how that
Has the
goes.
PLM completed all your screenings?
No, because Dr. Rowley had traveled for the last few days. The screening resumes today. So today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. I think Wednesday might be the last of the screening. So Wednesday, the completion is supposed to take place. Bar no other untoward situation. So
I'm curious as to what the Prime Minister's press conference is going to be about today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out what he's going to talk about also.
Yeah.
We wait and see. But congratulations.
Dr. Jeff Davidson, the former THA chairman, has died. Condolences to his family and colleagues.
Right. I remember that name. I remember that he's from way back in the NAR days, wasn't he?
I see we've started hearing slowly from Mr. Chief Secretary Augustine again. No comment about whether or not it's him in the audio clip.
Well, that's what he needs to comment on.
Because comment on that.
Because some of the more respected people in Tobago have been commenting and questioning.
Dr. Barnes James, who seemed to be guiding him since the start of this PDP journey with him, and his ascension to the chief secretary's position, but spared no words when we spoke to him about a week ago.
Right.
And said Mr. Augustine is not a man of his word. He says one thing and does another. He has no confidence. He's lost the confidence of the people. And he pulled no punches.
That's true.
Saying he is very disappointed and he doesn't think Mr. Augustine has what it takes in general terms.
Yeah. He said that.
And he seems to be self-serving. I think is another comment he made. Because he would comment on stuff, for example, the stuff related to his wife and licensing officers, but on important issues like but critical issues about credibility and governance and integrity, like the allegations that he is the voice heard in the audio tape, plotting to plant people in the THA, but with the sinister motive of them really getting a salary to disseminate propaganda. No comment about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It has to be
no denial or no affirmation. Let's just hope. Let's hope it'll go away. It's not going to go away. People are going to bring up that all the time. And whenever that THA election comes up, that's going to come up.
Yeah. Yeah. But clearly he has been advised not to say anything.
And anytime he says anything about integrity and good governance, it's going to come up. Just not even, we don't have to wait for election. Anytime he has to speak about good governance or anything about integrity and along those lines and ethics, it's going to come up.
Yeah. Because
he has not made a statement denouncing it. Because if somebody accused me of that, you understand? I'd be the first to say, especially somebody in that position. No, that's not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I distance myself from that. That is atrocious behavior, and I distance myself from it. But that has not been the case.
Yeah.
Radio silence. And he's not one to be light on speaking on issues.
No.
So.
Well, again, the Tobago public will have their say on that matter, I'm sure.
The Heritage and Stabilization Fund lost almost $1 billion.
Yes, 900 odd million dollars. I also saw that story.
We need to get somebody to talk about that.
Yeah.
Mariano, I guess, is always fervent. I find Dr. Hussein is quite quiet these days after a little public tongue lashing from the Minister of Finance. It's gone silent.
No surprises there.
That Minister but take you on,
Yeah. I actually got a few messages from Mariano this morning. Well, when I say messages, like uplifting posts. Every now and then he would do that. Like I actually got some this morning from him. I didn't get for a little while. So good morning, Mariano. Where is it? Yes, he sent me these messages this morning.
Franco Farm staying in the French Riviera. It's a lovely villa. It's a little chilly this morning, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Yeah, you have newspapers, Paul? You have to go online.
No, but this one may have newspapers.
Actually, I do.
Morning, Mr. Bossing.
Morning, Richard. You and Paul in the same Riviera?
Apparently.
We're in the same house.
No, the rooms are all the same. They outfit the rooms the same. We're not in the same wing.
Yeah. No, it automatically, by default, I don't know, it's something changed with StreamYard because everything I just clicked in and that was it. And I haven't used this background.
Well, no, I think you did last time. That's why.
No, I did not. I've been using my home background for the last 3 weeks.
But that's not StreamYard.
Including StreamYard. So
Okay,
I don't know why this clicked in.
Okay, sir.
And I couldn't be bothered to try to change it.
All right. No, well, I mean, if all of that is to say that you and Paul are not in the same place, then fine. You go right ahead.
Yeah. The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. Missing TTR Galil rifle, soldier civilian charged. DVP orders private 22 charged with theft of gun. Army man accused of misbehavior in public office and similar offenses laid against two man.
You ask for it and you get it. Come on, man.
No, well, I saw it. You didn't hear me scream. You didn't hear me exhale just now.
So all of that is on the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian.
This is nice. Sure enough.
On the back page, Stickman beaten in gold medal match. That's it. That's basically the main story on the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today.
What sport is that, Richard?
Hockey.
Oh, hockey. Okay, right.
Yeah, on the front page, there were some other sub-headlines I didn't mention. Flood woes in South and Tobago mourns passing of ex-THA chairman and 62 drivers fined for carrying excess weight. So all of that is on the front page of the Guardian. I'm moving straight along to the front page of the Daily Express. Front page, disappearance of Galil rifles, soldier charged. Diego Martin Corporation chairman agrees with Prime Minister, garbage collectors not working but still being paid, held to ransom. And that's
clearly the Express front page is not the same as the online version.
Yeah, well, that's it. But, okay. There's the hard copy front page that I'm talking about here. So the main headline, of course, is held to ransom, which it connects to that garbage collector thing that they were talking about. And on the back page of the Daily Express, tough loss, TNT Stickman edged in penalty shootout by USA in Pan Am Cup. And Antonucci scripts new chapter into annals of racing. And what's another? We have several headlines in the back here. Baggy Greens ace the ultimate test, and James and Joseph get Windy's call-up. All of that is the front and back page of the Daily Express this morning. So I just have one more newspaper, the Newsday. Central Bank governor hits HSF losses. Bloodshed continues unabated. 6 murders in 2 days. Wow. And ex-Central Bank governor, hits HSF losses. Apparently there were some HSF losses.
Almost $1 billion.
Huh?
Almost $1 billion.
Yeah, wasn't there something like 913 million US? Yeah. It said it's the first time in the history of the Heritage and Civilization Fund. Anyway, that's on the front page of the Newsday. On the back page, Defense Force go top of Premier Football League. Army capitalize on AC POS slip. AC Port of Spain slip.
And that's basically the front and back page of the 3 newspapers.
Richard, did you change your background or it changed back for itself?
No, it must
Look
have
at that.
changed. Yeah, it must have changed. See?
Mm-hmm.
See, I told you I didn't do anything, so it must not recognize I didn't do anything.
All right.
But
So
it kept
those are
flicking-
news
I
headlines
kept
for today.
flicking back and forth when I started, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, let it solve itself. And it did.
It did. Well done.
So those are trending stories in your 3 major dailies for today, Monday, the 12th of June. Steve, can you give us the results of the poll? And I have no question this morning.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to my mind.
All right, so here we go. The poll question you all asked on Friday: should the police apologize to Kareem Marcel and his brothers as well? Take disciplinary measures against the officers involved. That was our poll on Friday. The results are in. 71%, 71 said yes. All right, let's get into this morning's poll. It's a wet one. We'll let you know that there's flooding in some parts of central and south Trinidad. I'm getting a report of a family being stranded in a house, flooded area. The Met Office is saying partly cloudy conditions with occasional showers and extended periods of light rain. There's a high 70% chance of thunderstorms favoring Trinidad during the morning and early afternoon. Conditions expected to gradually settle by mid-afternoon to give mostly fair evening and night despite a few lingering showers. All right?
I have 2 potential questions.
All right, let's go.
One is, are you worried about the loss in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund? And 2, is this country adequately prepared for the hurricane season?
See what the weather is like today. I'll go to hurricane season.
All right, but I'll save my 3rd potential question for next day.
You say it might be better than those 2.
No, it's just that a lot of people, I realize, don't know their local government representative. Some of them don't know.
They don't.
They understand. And I was going to ask this morning, are you satisfied with your current representation in local government? In other words, the councillor that serves where you live. Are you?
Is there a councillor on duty now? Has not all that been disbanded?
No, well, I mean, it goes without saying. Are you currently satisfied? You know,
were you satisfied with your level of local government representation in the last term? Would that be appropriate?
We could have, thanks for correcting it. But that's a question I think we could ask. You don't have to ask it today.
We're running out of time a little bit, so let's jump straight into it.
I like the heritage civilization because it's topical.
Okay. Well, let's go with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about the loss in the HSF? Yes or no?
It was 931 million US, I think, wasn't it? It's 900 and something million US.
Right, that's the question. Are you concerned about the loss in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund? Yes or no? The numbers are
222 talk 222-8255, and North Americans 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, well, you know what to do. Just send your votes. But of course, you can also send your votes if you're in other parts of the planet at 1-868-222-TALK. You can call us at 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255. So 222-TALK, 222-8255. Are you worried about the loss in the HSF? And with regard to roughly 900 million US, first time ever the HSF has lost the money, apparently. So are you worried about that? Yes or no?
How does the HSF lose money, though?
Well, it's an investment fund, so they invest the funds. Remember, there's a
depends on the investment. Different countries have investments in the fund.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was wondering, I know that there's money that will be deposited in there from time to time.
No, but they invest it. They invest it.
Yeah, but mind you, it's not a savings account. It's an investment fund.
Okay.
All right. So let's get those votes in. Again, our morning poll.
Are you worried about the loss in the HSF?
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Steve. Yes, I'm very concerned.
All right, Lindsley, thank you. Good morning, GNC Auto Security. Good morning. Thank you so much for being locked on every morning. Maria Marva, good morning. She says, good morning. Happy birthday to Ezekiel. Good morning and happy birthday. Rampage, good morning. Trev Rima says yes. Mr. Karapo also says yes. Malik Ish, Ish out in Malik says, of course. What the heck? Trinity Jam says, hi guys, totally worried. DJ Sleepy, no. Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona says yes. All right. 222-8255. Toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099. Are you concerned about the loss in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund? I read somewhere this morning too that the THA has said they lost $7 million with Carnival and Tobago Jazz. Read that somewhere this morning when I was going through my news. Can't remember where I read it though, but one of the news articles. All right. Let's see. D says very concerned. Yes. Ridiculous mismanagement. Okay, D. Thank you so much. Let's see. Good morning, Michael Gradison. Carol Guevara says a wet one. Yep. Samuel Paul. Marcia Rock. Congratulations to the Borough of Digger Martin. H.S. Wilson. Good morning.
So are you worried about the loss?
And yes to the poll as H.S. Wilson. Edward Aliam says, happening, how come no? Okay, we just want yes or no, Edward. All right.
So Trinidad and Tobago's Heritage and Stabilization Fund made a loss of US $913.5 million last financial year. Its recently published annual report has stated. Since its establishment in 2007, this is the first time the Sovereign Wealth Fund has recorded a total comprehensive loss for the year.
All right. GNC Auto Security says yes. Carol Guevara says yes. What says you, caller?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. And raining and Rima?
Plenty. That money, especially when I break it down into TT dollars, that is a hell of a lot. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. My answer is no. They had recovered the money, most of it, in the first quarter of the 2023. Right? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Sexy San Fernando says definitely yes to the poll.
So you know our poll this morning. Are you worried about the loss of US $913.5 million in the last financial year of the HSF? Does it concern you? Are you worried about it? Yes or no?
Yeah. All right. 913 million. Let's see. Any more? Let me just check my stream here. I got somebody saying yes, certainly. All right. Marvel on the road says yes. All right. Let's grab this call and I go to news. Good morning.
Good morning, Grandy. No.
All right. Raining in Grandy. And he left. All right, let's get into 7 o'clock major news on this, the 12th day of June. If he is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
2 men are charged with the missing Galil assault rifle and 1 magazine. The United National Congress says that government is failing students and the education sector. MSJ suggests fundamental change to our education system. And the national men's football team gets a 1-0 win against Guatemala in an international friendly match. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. 2 men have been charged with the missing Galil assault rifle and 1 magazine. The firearm was reported missing from the Pioneer Department of the Tetran Army Barrack Chagaramas last Sunday. On June 10th, the lead investigator and team had an audience with the Director of Public Prosecutions, Roger Gaspard, who advised that Private Ronaldo Wanza, 22, be charged with 2 counts of misbehavior in public office, 1 count to wit the larceny of the Galil assault rifle, and the other count to wit the subsequent transfer of same, possession of a prohibited weapon, and possession of ammunition. DPP Gaspard also advised that Brandon Moonsami, 30, of Mokoya Settlement, Tunapuna, be jointly charged with Private Ronaldo Wanza for misbehavior in public office, to wit transferring a firearm and receiving the Galil assault rifle, knowing same to be stolen. According to police investigators, the Western Division Criminal Investigations Department and officers of the Western Division Gang and Intelligence Unit conducted inquiries and acting on information received on June 9th around 1 p.m., the investigative team proceeded to Gulf Course Road, Chagaramas, in the vicinity of Bellarund Recreational Park, where 1 black-colored Galil assault rifle and 1 magazine containing 4 rounds of 5.56 ammunition were found in a black garbage bag to the side of a concrete structure. The Western Division Crime Scene Unit was called and the rifle and ammunition were secured. Upon examination of the firearm, it was found to be the reported missing Galil assault rifle. The 3 unions under the banner of Joint Trade Union Movement, who recently accepted the Chief Personnel Officer's 4% for the 6-year bargaining period, Prison Officers Association, Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, and Fire Services Association will be hosting a news briefing today at Tutor's main office, Southern Main Road, Currap, at 2 p.m. At this news briefing, the various labor leaders, President of the Teachers Union, Martin Lumbikin, President of the Fire Services Association, Leo Ramkisoon, Gordon Douglas of the Prison Officers Association will explain the pressures placed on them and their membership, who were forced to accept and sign off on the atrocious, quote-unquote, atrocious CPO's offer of 4%. UNC Member of Parliament for Tabakit, Anita Haynes, believes that education should be treated as a right to all citizens and not a privilege, so that all may have equitable access to opportunities. She made the comment while speaking at the UNC media briefing yesterday. Haynes said that under the People's National Movement government, there had been a systemic dismantling of space for equitable access to educational opportunities. Haynes stated she recently asked for a written answer to a question in Parliament on the number of technical vocational instructors currently employed with the Ministry of Education and the number of vacant positions for such instructors as of April 30th, 2023. She said the government ought to be creating a space where pupils have more equitable access to the education sector, which caters to the students' needs. She also commented on school violence and crime and said that specific interventions in the short, medium, and long terms are required to treat these. She said that when the shooting took place near the Rose Hill Primary School in Laventille last November, when school students ducked below their desks as gang members engaged in a gun battle, it was, quote, only a matter of time before it moved from outside the school to on the school compound, end quote. Meanwhile, the Movement for Social Justice is suggesting fundamental change to the education system in TNT. MSJ says this can only happen if we have bold, courageous, and visionary leadership of the country. It claims until we have such leadership, we shall continue to have 4-week vacation remedial classes for the 50% of the children who were failed by the secondary entrance assessment system. The Ministry of Education issued a statement recently to inform the country that it will be organizing a vacation revision program for some 15,500 students. According to the ministry, 5,500 of these students will be from those who are now in standards 4 and 5, while 10,000 will be from the 18,889 students who sat the SEA in March. The 4-week program for these 10,000 students is to better prepare them to deal with secondary school, which starts in September. This is the second such program organized by the ministry. The first was last year when some 9,000 students were targeted, but less than 3,000 of these children participated. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Trinidad and Tobago won 1-0 against Guatemala in a friendly international match at Subaru Park, Pennsylvania on Sunday. The lone goal was scored by Alvin Jones from the penalty spot in the 53rd minute of the match. In the last 5 meetings between the two teams, there were 2 wins for Trinidad and Tobago and 0 for Guatemala and 3 draws. Well, finally, here is weather news for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, partly cloudy to cloudy conditions with occasional showers and extended periods of light rain. There is a high chance of thunderstorms favoring Trinidad during the morning and early afternoon. Conditions expected to gradually settle by mid-afternoon to give mostly fair evening and night despite a few lingering showers. Gusty winds and street or flash flooding are likely in the event of a heavy downpour. There is a yellow level riverine flood alert presently in effect. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 30 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 31 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco International Airport and Crown Point in Tobago is 24 degrees Celsius. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock, 2 men are charged with the missing Galil assault rifle and 1 magazine. The United National Congress says that government is failing students in the education sector. The MSJ suggests fundamental change to our education system, and the national men's football team gets a 1-0 win against Guatemala in an international friendly match. I'm Avril Sintil-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail coming up at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Evie, for our news, major news, I should say, not news brief, but major news. Thank you so much. Quickly, let's take a look what's happening traffic-wise on our highways and on the byways. Let me start in the east-west corridor. Heading towards Valencia Junction, you've got some traffic. Then Santa Rosa, pretty much to Omeri, you got some traffic. Maloney, you're going to get traffic straight into Port of Spain. A little ease up as you head by Curab Valsain, but that's it. From Arima Old Road, heavy, but heavier from Tacarigua towards Paget, heading towards Mova Junction. Coming out of Santa Cruz, Lower Santa Cruz, got it. Coconut Drive towards the Lookout, you've got some traffic. Moke all the way down to Roundabout. Diego Martin, it's heavy as well. And coming out of Carenage, all right? Also got some traffic. You're leaving Sugar Guanas, you're going to get some traffic. Heading straight to Ibis Gardens, Kelly Village, and Piarco Old Road, you got some there as well. Basically, where you think you're going to get traffic, you will. But it's not too bad from Claxton Bay towards Couva. Just by Charlieville to the interchange is heavy. Leaving Couva toward Chase Village, you've got some volume there. San Fernando, little volume, but not too bad. Lighter than usual. All right, that's a quick traffic update for you. Hope it helped you out in one way or the other. I got one more vote. I got Andre saying yes. All right. I got Andre saying yes.
Just to add some context, because a financial management expert friend of mine sent me some information. They said it's a loss in the market value of the investments in the fund. It's not really a loss as in not recoverable. It is a reflection
Hold
of the
up,
movement.
Prof. Let me give the results first before you go into your explanation. Just hold up.
No, you just hold up. You wait. No, you wait.
Just hold back.
Also, bond prices declined as interest rates increased, and this will have an impact. It's really called an unrealized loss. Now you could go.
I thank that financial expert for sending that information.
Okay, so the question may have been misleading without the explanation. So,
yes.
Well, it's too late.
It's not too late. We can correct the record. It's not too late.
What are the results, Richard?
Well, we had 17 people voting on the poll this morning, and our poll this morning was, are you concerned about the HSF loss in the last financial year? We had 14 people saying yes, they are concerned, 3 people saying no. Thank you so much for your votes this morning. Of course, you can continue to vote on the poll throughout the day through all programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be Tuesday. Have a great day.
Oh, you're getting part already, you know.
Again, it's a loss in the market value of investments. It's not really a loss, but as not recoverable. It's a reflection of the movement of shares and other investments. Bond prices declined as interest rates increased, and that has had an impact. It's called an unrealized loss, but people can still be concerned because if it continues in this trend, it can have negative impacts. You understand?
But you just won't get as much as you expected.
Yeah, but you can't.
Which is what investment funds are about.
Right. But that doesn't mean people can't be concerned.
Well, I would imagine, yes. I would imagine. You can be concerned. You know,
you can be concerned.
It was like when unit trust interest rates started to plummet. And I don't think it ever recovered. You know, because that's an investment too, you know?
Yeah.
It's all investments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens.
Steve, am I supposed to send the link for Anita, or did you send it?
I sent it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Anita, oh, you mean chiquitita.
I don't know if she's your chiquitita, but Anita. I'm trying to save you from yourself.
Did you all listen to the
I just singing a song, you know.
Did you all listen to the World Voices?
What is that?
I listened to part of it.
No.
Oh, the BBC?
No, I sat down and I listened. I actually sat down and I listened to the entire thing. It was quite interesting, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quite interesting. Very lively discussion. And what was, I think, people were grateful for, it was which was mentioned in the discussion. It was one of the few forums where you really got to debate, or there was a lot of asking questions in a kind of debating platform with the audience interaction, which doesn't usually happen in a Trinidad and Tobago context, especially with both government and opposition present. And as we see opposition, here is Anita. So good morning, Anita.
And good morning. How are you?
Show. I'm
good.
Good.
Morning. Good morning, MP Haynes.
Good morning. Long time no see.
long time no see.
Morning. How you doing?
I am fine, thank you.
Anita was just giving a quick synopsis of the BBC World Voices, and I said it was interesting to listen to because it was so lively, and in addition to which, and of course the moderator was excellent. He kept it to the time, boy. He cut you once you were going on too long. Said that okay, that's the answer. Move on.
BBC.
He was
Did you enjoy the debate format?
He was really very good.
Pardon me, Paul, I didn't hear you.
Did you enjoy the debate format?
I did. It was certainly a new experience. The live audience, questions from the audience. And so it was a new experience, but I did enjoy it, yes.
But the UNC certainly strategically did put forward, if not their best, one of their best looking MPs.
Thank you, but the option did not go to the political organizations. BBC reached out to each of the panelists directly.
Oh, okay. All right, that was the so you couldn't send me one.
The offer was not to political organizations to send anybody. When BBC decided to come to Trinidad to host question time, they looked at videos press conferences, panel discussions, anything that anybody in the sphere had available to look at, and then they decided who would best fit what their programming design was.
Oh, so is it that you would have had to get the party's permission then at the end of the day, or was it entirely up to you?
Well, I can't speak for Stuart and the PLM, but I had a discussion, but the permission wasn't required because outside of being a member of parliament, I also participate in political communication. So if there was an instance of whether or not I would misrepresent the party's position, we would clarify something like that. But the invitation was more for persons who exist within the different spaces in Trinidad. So that's how I went about it. So I had a discussion, but it wasn't necessarily permission.
Oh, so you tell them you're going, and you went.
No. You see, I phrased it in such an elegant way, and then you are so inelegantly trying to rephrase my words, and I don't. I really don't.
Well said, Anita. Well said.
Anita never disappoints.
You were once PRO of the UNC. Dr. Major just know that, but I'm sure you can proffer some information for us. What is driving these departures from the UNC in the councillor realm?
I think that would be a discussion best had with the persons who find themselves navigating the political space in the way that they are. Persons have offered public utterances as to why they're doing some things, and anything that I offer would be an assumption or a guess on my part. But at the end of the day, persons enter the political arena and expect certain things and expect things to go certain ways, and how you react to things is a matter of your personality. And to kind of create this blanket of this is what's causing a movement, or which is just of what two people that's creating, I think, a narrative that I wouldn't really want to buy
There's only
into.
two people, because some newspaper report that mentioned you would hemorrhage, and I think there was some suggestion, I couldn't confirm it, that another person may have had a change of heart, but is that something the party is concerned about?
Look, any party must consider any movement of membership, and certainly those persons who are holding positions and deciding to move. The decision, I think, the discussion, I think, that is most important is how, as the United National Congress, our job is to attract more people into our organization. So to say there's any lack of concern, I think that would be disingenuous. But what we're more concerned about is strategically building out our spaces in all of these areas. And so, yes, persons are moving along, but how are we going to ensure that candidates coming in, especially as we're going through our screening process, candidates coming in are, one, committed to the area that they're seeking to serve, and also committed to the values that the party presents and the things that we speak about on the platform.
Anita, you see why I have to like you and admire you? Because you would have dealt with that in the most diplomatic, sincere way. I could just imagine speaking to somebody else and they lambasting those guys and them for the move that they make. But anyway, the fact that they have expressed concerns of no support coming from the party, is that something that you would have heard before, that the party is not giving support to some of their representatives?
I think it's a question again of what type of support are you looking for, and whether or not you're equating support to being a central decision maker. Look, when you are dealing with an organization as big as the UNC, there are going to be things that you would want to see going differently. But you have committed to an organization, and I mean, you are a politician, because in this case, we're talking about councillors. And so if you don't understand the art of persuasion in getting your point across and getting that movement into your direction, then we run into some difficulties. I don't see how they could suggest that there is a lack of support when you have your persons within the council, you have the constituency executives, you have the national executive, and so the space is created. And therefore, I think again, those are considerations for the individuals making decisions for them to justify and further expand on why they're making these moves. To me, it sounds like they're giving you a blanket reason without giving very specifics, and I'd be very interested to hear the specifics. I haven't spoken to either of the individuals involved, and so I don't have that information, but it will certainly be an interesting campaign trail to hear the justification to the public of the migration, because now you're also, so it's not to say that you're moving from UNC to being independent or someone, you're moving over to the PRM, so a political organization you would have spent at least 3 years criticizing in some way. So I'll be very interested to see the justification to now PNM supporters as to why they would accept you, and whether or not a move in a similar in a different direction could take place.
Well, in the past, I can tell you in the past, I know of 2 instances where UNC councillors moved to the PNM and actually won the seat for the PNM. It happened in Pinal Debe with, I think it's Premnat Dipti, and it happened in Maruga with Francis Paul. They were UNC councillors and they moved to the PNM and won the seat. So is that a concern within the UNC that these guys can actually go across to the PNM and take away seats that the UNC would have held?
Well, with Sheldon Fish in Arima, that conversation is really not one that we really could participate in, because that win, while it was a lot of hard work by the constituency executive in both W. O'Mara and Arima, that's just not a traditional or even marginal seat that the UNC tends to hold. So yes, we have our concerns and we'll continue to do our work, but that's just really, I think to house that as a big major win to the PNM, I think that would be.
So you're giving up on that one. But let's talk about the one in Santa.
I'm not giving up on it. I'm saying let's be realistic. We have to be really honest with the discussions that we're having. If PNM wins a seat in Pinal Debe, yeah, big deal, right? When the UNC wins a seat in Arima, big deal. But if it goes back in the other direction, you understand that that's just kind of return to the status quo as opposed to some fundamental, major, monumental shift. With respect to the Marcus Gadari space in Marabella, in Vistabella, that space, the party, the UNC, has put a considerable amount of work. The San Fernando machinery has been doing its work. And so that's not to say that you can just easily make a shift because, personalities are involved, but I think we can be confident in the work that has gone into the San Fernando Corporation as a whole and that Vistabella area in a specific instance,
Okay, because I know that San Fernando was targeted by the UNC. It's being targeted by the UNC as a possible takeover. And now that Marcus has made that move, I would imagine it would be concerning to the UNC.
Well, I can't speak to the internal PNM workings, but I don't know that the San Fernando Corporation, the candidates have been selected. So it's yet to be seen whether or not Marcus is even going to run on a PNM ticket. So that conversation is not one we could have right now anyway. Because he's moved, but has he been screened and selected by the PNM? That information is not available to us. So
has the UNC screened for San Fernando yet?
Oh, that's
screening is yet to take place.
That's also an interesting, it's always interesting to me, and it just shows you the malleability of politics and how it shifts and forms to suit its purposes, and sometimes not really about solidly that I stand for A or I stand for B. So X says, well, I'm leaving this party and I'm going to Y. Y may have all manner of people who feel they are suitable for this particular seat. But because Y is from X, Y automatically jumps ahead of the line, it seems, in terms of being selected, even though there are other people who may be valid. It's always
I agree, and I think that's also an interesting dynamic that no one speaks about with this type of shift, right? That you've gone from a space where you, outside of identifying with a political party and doing the work and being a member and doing that work, that you're going into another political organization and you're right, skipping the line ahead. That can't bode well for the activists and the people who would have been actively working in the opposite direction, 2 months ago. So
But
that is
you
a
you
really
you, you
interesting
kind of
dynamic.
answered that before, Anita. In that, if the seat is traditionally a seat of that other party, then there is very little concern that shift will make too much of a difference.
But
In
that's
San
not the case
Fernando,
in
because in
Maribel.
San Fernando, the seat that Marcus won would also have been a PNM seat before.
Has been, but it is not in the seat. That has been a seat that can shift. So that's what
Right.
we understood as a marginal
Mhm.
seat. That's
Mhm.
different from holding a seat that is traditionally held. Marabella, Visabella has been one of the seats that you understood you really put in the work because it could go either way in a local election,
Yeah.
which it has before.
Right.
How
So
important is this upcoming local government to the UNC? Of course, the PNM has won the last two generals, and but the PNM has also lost Tobago significantly. So the stakes, in many people's estimations, are quite high in this local government leading to 2025. Is this the kind of strategy the UNC is hoping to build momentum on leading to 2025? Because you've lost two national elections.
Certainly, all elections are important to us. When we had the by-elections with a significant amount of work, the local elections, a significant amount of work has gone into. I mean, look, there's a major conversation going on around local government, around the services that have been delivered. What does local government mean to the population? So, yes, we are very not just interested and active about this local government election, but you're absolutely right in terms of building momentum as we go forward, ensuring that persons understand that they have a vested interest in creating the type of society that you want. And if you don't like what you see and you really have a space, certainly at election times, to make a difference and do something about what you have been seeing. And so yes, the UNC is really focused on this local election as we are focused on all elections. The teams have been working, the screening has been taking place, so it's just a question of ensuring that come August 14th, we really do have an
What are
excellent
the big
year.
issues you're trying to hammer home?
Pardon?
What are the big issues? Every election has three or four big issues, sometimes two and three big issues that a political party on both sides or on any of the political small entities coming up tends to focus on, I guess, to give them leverage, a hand up, foot up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are absolutely focused on the crime situation. And now, while a lot of persons are saying, well, crime is not a local government issue, but it's certainly a local issue. So the utilization of municipal policing, community policing, making a difference where you can, that's something we'll be absolutely focused on. The delivery of infrastructural projects, I mean, today, for example, we're facing a significant amount of rain, and the flooding in our areas have been significant already. So as I leave this interview, we'll be going out to do site visit. So certainly on infrastructural delivery and, again, a question of accountability and value for money, so that you are seeing that with the PNN's insistence on the property tax introduction, that you will then see a value for money. Money is going into spaces that persons can be comforted that things are being done for their best interest. So that's the things the UNC are looking at.
Anita, you're the MP for Tabakit, right?
Yes.
What corporation would serve the Tabak your
The Cuba Tabakit Talpara Regional Corporation.
Right. So Cuba Tabakit Talpara Regional Corporation has always been UNC.
Yes.
The Tabakit seat has always been UNC.
Correct.
How satisfied are you with how they have conducted themselves in that area?
And so, listen, when you come into any space, you have to face the realities of what's going on. So the Tabuki constituency, while it has always been UNC, and the corporation, while it has always been UNC, the UNC has not always been in central government. And so if we understand where all the money comes from central government, and the question of how releases work and the timely distribution, and I'll give you one example, while it's not a local government example, the Bonaventure landslip that the work has recently started. It started, I raised a matter on the adjournment on May 26th. the following Monday, the work started. This was work that we were told could not be done in the rainy season. The contract, the award of the contract did not happen until the rainy season. Right now, we are in a mess of traffic and space because we were told the work could not be done in the rainy season. That's why it didn't start last year. They missed the entire dry season, and the money was only released to start the work at the start of the rainy season. Similarly, right now within the corporation, the projects would have been submitted. The money was released within the last week, and so contractors are no longer willing to work on credit. And so if you are not getting the releases, you will not get the work done. And so there are some issues that are central government issues that creep into the local government space and certainly into the space of constituency politics overall.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you're saying that, because one of the issues that the UNC has been strongly opposed to property tax introduction at this time. Let me be specific about it.
Yeah.
And not particularly supportive about the government's approach to local government reform. However, moving forward, even with that said, the corporations will now be collecting taxes that will go directly to intervention infrastructure projects in the particular areas. How do you see this evolving, and what should we be looking for in the next couple of years with this new paradigm of local government, where you don't have to wait for central government to release funds to you? You're managing your own affairs, you're getting specific funding relative to the taxes collected from the burgesses, and this should, as you said earlier on, redound, if it works properly, to the direct benefit of people who are paying these taxes and the services they expect.
Absolutely. And I'm going to use the Kuba Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation as an example. So in terms of geographic spread, it is one of the biggest corporations. But the collection of taxes by the corporation, to be clear, would be residential taxes, not the taxes from commercial buildings in the industrial estate, for example, and not agricultural taxes. The taxes coming from agricultural land. And so that in terms of our geographic spread, in terms of the makeup of the Kuba Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation, within that corporation, you have several major agricultural spaces and the Point Lisas industrial estate. And so all of the bulk of the taxes, the major money coming from the collection of these taxes, will go into the central government, whereas we will collect the residential tax and have to cover a massive geographical location with a population that is spread over, again, a wider space. And so when we have a discussion, again, to reiterate, the issue with the property tax at this time is with the rising cost of living, increasing the burden on the population. We consider that to be a no-go on policy for right now. But as you go forward, the allowing local entities to manage their own affairs, we see that as a good thing. But allowing local entities to manage their affairs in the smallest scope possible and then expecting the same service delivery, we find that to be a difficult thing to and again, you'll run into when you'll oppose anything, but again, you've moved into this space and you said you're allowing local bodies to collect certain things, but then you remove the agricultural land spaces from it, for example.
But to be fair, and I asked this question specifically of the finance minister when he presented in the Senate. Mm-hmm. What is the time frame for implementing commercial, industrial, and agricultural? And in addition to that, although that goes to the consolidated fund, it doesn't absolve the government from its responsibility for capital, large-scale development, that may not be the exact phrase, and other infrastructure development in these constituencies. It just gives collection of residential taxes to the corporations to manage those. It doesn't negate the government also investing as it should in these constituencies, political machinations aside, for the development of the population nationally.
Absolutely. We raised it in the public domain because it is an important point to consider. How any administration treats with it, I think, will come down to what people believe that administration stands for. So as we roll it out, right, because the legislation has been passed, we are on this path. So now the onus is on the government that is sitting there now to shows that they mean what they say, or any incoming administration. So when I say that, I'm not saying that I think that this is exactly how they're going to do it and this is what we'll see. But there are certain things that we can face as the reality facing Trinidad and Tobago. Traditionally, our corporations have gotten a smaller slice of the pie. I remember the Minister of Finance telling me it's because we have fewer people living there. And I was like, are you certain? Are you certain about that? Are you doing the 2010 census at this point in time? And so how it rolls out is we have to, as a country, we'll see what happens. But I think it is important for me as a
Well, I'm
person
sure
who
the
in that
opposition will hold the
policy
government
space.
accountable on these
Correct.
deliverables.
Correct.
You and I, of course, share a passion for education. You're the shadow education minister, and there are several issues facing education. I can't even begin to start to elucidate on the concerns I have. The Prime Minister himself has commented several times in the last couple of months on the shortcomings of the education system, going so far as to say that the shortcomings in the education system basically are producing criminals. Am I wrong? Am I misquoting the Prime Minister here? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well,
But
not on my you're not misquoting.
but the government is in charge, and the education minister forms part of the Prime Minister's cabinet. So it confuses me about the pronouncement when everything that can be done by the government in the decisions and policies. I recently raised a motion in the German about the school dropout issue, and I admire Lisa Morris truly, and I admire women like yourself and Lisa, because I think you're the future of politics in Trinidad and Tobago. But the answer was, I wasn't satisfied with the answer because it didn't speak to remedying an ongoing situation, which I raised in 2017 when you were in the Senate. You would remember. And then Senator Roger Samuel raised it also to then Education Minister Anthony Garcia. Yet the trend of dropouts and the impact on the human resources and the country development has continued. Why do you think we are so apathetic towards, and this is not only during the PNM, but this is before, the trends have existed before 2015. Why are we so apathetic toward this cadre of students who are clearly struggling in this country at primary and secondary level?
When in 2013, 2014, thereabouts, I was employed as a technocrat in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Monitoring and Evaluation Unit, that would look at various ministries, what they're doing, assessing what has been done and what needs to be done. At that time, there was a discussion of how to include and incorporate psychometric testing at the early childhood learning space and certainly in primary school spaces so that you can understand, so that our teaching system can evolve in understanding that there are different types of learners, that there are different types of ways of learning, and that we ought not, and I think you remember this from your motion in 2017, that we ought not to be separating children in the A class, B class, and C class, but that you ought to be separating students in the ways that they learn, and so that our teaching can become more effective. And so at that time, we were looking at that policy, how to incorporate it into the system, understanding, all human rights concerns that may come in with certain types of testing, understanding what types of training you would require for teachers, ensuring a way to get buy-in from the PTA and parents and teachers, etc. That was a discussion in 2014. It made its way into the People's Partnership Manifesto for 2015. And it was certainly something that could have been continued, because I see nothing politically divisive in something like that. There is nothing that ought to have had any administration say, well, let's hold up, this doesn't make any sense. If you saw that there could be tweaks or some better rollout, something like that, then certainly. But there was nothing, I think, that stopped that from being part of our conversation right now. Had that continued, we'd be having a very different discussion, because there are a number of reasons people drop out. Right now, cost of living may also be impacting the dropout rates, but that's a separate discussion. But student participation, whether or not a child is seen as difficult or incapable of learning or any of those things, and then just kind of left to the back of the class to figure themselves out. We could have been fixing this problem in a systematic way for at least almost a decade. Next year is 2024. And we don't have that now. And so I think one of the things that I find most disheartening, especially when it comes to the education sector, especially when it comes to um, a continuation of policy, is that when if there's an administration change, there should be, especially when it comes to education, there are some other areas, but certainly when it comes to education, some, you know, impartial viewing of the policies to see what can really create a better system for us, what can you improve upon, and going forward. On Friday, the Prime Minister spoke about, back in the day, education used to be a privilege, and back then people succeeded more. And I thought I couldn't believe that even if you thought that you would say something like that out loud. That should not be the thinking at all. We should be thinking about how to ensure that education is that once you enter the system, that the system works for you, and not blaming people saying you're just lazy or you just don't want to participate or whatnot. But what can we do as policymakers to create a legitimately inclusive system? Not just, and I don't mean that to say a system where there's a space for everybody, but that we're building capacity so that persons are more likely to succeed coming onto the system. And being more likely to succeed also means being more likely to stay within the system. And I think this, education very rarely
because they're those who are staying in the system but underperforming. So we talk about dropouts, but there are people who cognitively drop out even though they stay 5 years in secondary school and come up with no skills and training.
Correct, and you can see it from the pass rates. The last year, I mean, being one of the scariest years to see
50%.
Get 30%. 50%. Not 50, 30%, especially on the SEA level. Some persons couldn't make 30%, and so when you're scoring under 30% means that you certainly do not have the competency to get to participate at a secondary school level. That you're not, when you get into Form 1, the things that you need to just be, basically participating in the class at the most basic level, you don't have that. And that is a serious concern, because once you get into Form 1, the vacation revision program, last year I shared my concerns at the beginning, and I shared my concerns at the end. And one of my most major concerns across the board with any policy, especially when it comes to the education sector, is this unwillingness to evaluate its effectiveness, to evaluate whether or not it is meeting the needs. Are you actually solving the problem you set out to solve, or are you just making an announcement? And I think that is really important, because if we're doing the same thing and we're spending the same $5 billion and you're not seeing any kind of result, then we have to go on
Well, Anita, it's strange. It's strange because I was listening to you earlier on, and you spoke about policies that should continue cross governments, and that was a policy that was certainly continued across government. That issue of, regardless of whether you attain a certain percentage or not, you will move on to secondary school. That was a policy that was continued. Are you suggesting then that we revisit that?
No, I'm not at all. And I'm funny that that's where you went, because I believe there ought to be a space for people in secondary school, everyone. Mm-hmm. But I also believe that the secondary school system ought to be able to cater to everybody. It's not
I'm not disputing. I'm not disagreeing with you. I swear, Anita, you are not a UNC. You don't think like a normal UNC.
I am most certainly.
You don't think like a normal UNC,
I would have to disagree with that. I would have to disagree with that.
That was actually a compliment. Eh?
I'm sure you meant it that way. But okay. Yes.
Do you think the interventions vis-a-vis the violence in some schools and the violence that some students and teachers have been exposed to are being effectively addressed? The education minister answered the question in the Senate about security guards, and she was right. I have to give her that. There was a time we didn't need guards in school. There was a time a monitor was enough. Now we have fences. Now we have, in some instances, barbed wires around schools. Criminals running into schools, shooting parents, I should say, because the man got shot in his leg while he dropped off his son, is not necessarily only in the government. It's a societal issue because you how can you really cater for somebody who is of the mindset to run into a school and shoot at a parent with children around? There's no government past putting 24 guards at the school and having steel gates closing can accommodate for that. So what's the answer here?
But that question does not fall under the education sphere. It falls under our national security sphere. When Rose Hill happened, and we saw the videos, and the discussion was the proximity to the school and how dangerously close we are to experiencing this looking at, what is happening with crime in our society. And it's inching its way closer to, the spaces that our children occupy for a certain time during the day. And you heard the Minister of National Security tell us, look, it was outside the school, it wasn't inside school, like that made a difference. It's a question of when we're looking at Trinidad and Tobago, and we're looking at crime in Trinidad and Tobago. And yes, we're having a major discussion about the school spaces, but at the end of the day, these children go home, and depending on where they live, they are equally faced with what we are seeing happening in Trinidad and Tobago. And there is a space, I think, for the discussion on the national security level and what is being done there, and what ought to be done and what ought to be done in the short term. But outside of that, recognizing where we're at, there is certainly a space on the education front to look at our cadre of guidance counselors, and persons and student support officers, and persons who can treat with the trauma that comes from experiencing things like this. And so I think the Minister of Education, the space that she ought to be answering in is recognizing Trinidad and Tobago society for what it is. What are we doing in terms of interventions at the school level? Counseling, guidance counselors, etc., being one, but things like mediation, dispute resolution, and treating the next generation of Trinidadians and Tobagonians with a space of saying like, how do we ensure that when you come out of the system, you understand that a life of crime ought not to be the space that you go into. And so there are interventions there. But with respect to whether or not we need barbed wires and police patrols and whatnot, I think it's clear that in Trinidad and Tobago, our state of national security is a cause for grave concern.
You also spoke yesterday about technical vocational and the mindset, but this is my opinion, unfortunately, so I'm not putting it on the government or anybody else, that there continues to be a mindset, because you spoke about this yesterday at the UNC's report, that technical vocational is the mindset is that, well, if you can't do nothing else, do technical vocational, as opposed to integrating technical vocational at primary, secondary, and giving it the kind of prominence of science, law, medicine, because of the contribution of persons skilled in those areas, technical areas, to manufacturing and development in places like Germany and Panama. But we don't have that mindset still here, unfortunately.
And in addition to that, one of the points that I will be raising, because I do intend to have a private motion in Parliament looking at some of these issues, but our system, our education system, ought not to be tailored to just producing persons who come out to work in certain fields. So we're creating a crop of workers, but creating an entrepreneurial culture, understanding that there are spaces that you can use your talents and hone your talents, and you can monetize your talents and earn a very good living for yourself. And so, when I did ask a question for written answer because I really wanted a feel for the numbers. And when you look at things like plumbing and air conditioning and refrigeration and whatnot, they're offered at a few schools. There's no incentive for offer to bring in new instructors, etc. And going back again under Fazal Karim, understanding that in a lot of these areas, the apprenticeship system is what worked out. And so persons may have the skill set but not possess these necessary certification, and allowing spaces where you can come in, have your competency tested, and then be given a certificate. Because if you are working for a living already. You may not have time to go through another 6 or 8 week course, but you may be competent enough that you can get your certification. And so creating spaces like that, creating the prominence of understanding that there are persons, mechanics, etc., who have spent their entire life training. They may not be within the academic system, but they certainly have something that they can offer. And creating this hybrid system of persons who can be entrepreneurs and get into spaces that we absolutely need. I mean, there's no provision under the list on the question for written answer for masonry. In the spaces of home construction and whatnot, I've been hearing people lament, you can't get any masons, you can't get any masons. Well, we have no instructors, we have nobody learning it, and so you understand that we're creating a problem for ourselves because we're pushing we've been traditionally incentivizing the same areas and then complaining that we have too many people in the same areas and not realizing that we've done that to ourselves.
Yeah. Paul, but we have had that discussion here already, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dean Allen has always been one who's been pushing that type, what you just spoke about there, in terms of the tech work and so on.
Yeah, but we talked about it and talked about
I don't even know if Trinidad and Tobago has a comprehensive plan either under the UNC or and I shouldn't really label it a party issue. If we have any comprehensive plan that articulates, one, not only where we are going that everybody agrees on, but two, what are the skill sets we need in terms of the population that should be coming into the education system, because societies continuously evolve. You have, and I always come back to coding and the issue of coding in primary schools, or the primary school equivalent in other countries that started to introduce it years ago because they understood where the digital sphere was going. Trinidad was aware of it, but did nothing. And I remember when Tim Gopi Singh was Minister of Education, I brought it up. I brought it up with Anthony Garcia. And it just seems to me when it comes to education, we have a lot of talk. We have a lot of talking that takes place from all of the various experts that know where we need to go. But from a transformative point of view, nothing really happens. We continue to be a small island state that think like small islanders. And we go, ho-hum, it will figure itself out in some way. And people will say, no, it will not figure itself out. Yeah, those voices in the corners going on, but that's what happens. And children enter SEA next year, and everybody goes to school, and the same thing, and we will be talking this 2 years or 3 years from now.
I think we could have looked at, again, it goes back to the question of the continuation of policy making, right? The laptop program was something that became campaign fodder across the board, whether, it was hailed as being very innovative on our side, which I agree with. And then on the other side was said that, well, not enough was done and the laptops were being used to play games, etc. But if you take on that, for example, and you built upon that and you said, all right, you didn't give teachers enough training, but we'll do that. We'll give the teachers the training, etc. going forward. Or that you had the smart classroom policy that was, again, part of the People's Partnership 2015 manifesto, and you take that and you incorporate that space instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. I mean, what I have seen in my short existence in the political landscape is that, and when you look at the yellow books and the things that we pay for, is we love to pay for a study, a feasibility study, an analysis, but it's the same study that somebody else already did. And so I don't know why we can't just update the study. Why are we always doing a brand new study, as opposed to, you're right, moving into the implementation phase. Again, there were, I think, things that, and maybe it is because I am very aware of what was being done, what was in the pipelines, things that were in train already. And one could argue that as the United National Congress, we ought to be doing a better job of communicating where we were. But now we're going on 10 years on. And so we have to be very committed into speaking about what we will do, understanding that there has been a track record. There has been, at the very least, you can see where things have started. And if they had continued, if it was 10 years later and we were discussing a continuation of introducing or including tech as a part of our curriculum and not as an aside.
You know what I think it is, Anita? I don't know if our political parties and the main political parties at that, the UNC and the PNM, if they see the transformation of the education system as urgent. I don't know if they see it as urgent.
I can tell you that in the UNC, it certainly is seen as urgent. Look, the education system, our education space, is really the center point of anything that we can do when we discuss nation building. When we discuss things, even how we discuss topics, how we are able to analyze and effectively go through arguments, and all of those things are so important. And you do that from the space of education. So I can guarantee you, I'm not saying that just because I am the shadow, and not because we I'm part of the committee tasked with building out what we put forward to the population, but because I understand that coming into politics, people expect us to make a difference, and they expect a collaborative approach, and they expect that you don't have the same conversation 10 years down the road. And so it is a question of doing things differently. And I've certainly committed myself to that as an individual and part of an organization.
It's frustrating though, I'll tell you that, because you're seeing so much I don't want to say wastage, a lack of understanding that every child that drops out is wasted potential, and that when we accept 30% as the transition to go to secondary school and they can't cope, and 1,200 or 1,500 drop out, that has an impact cumulatively on the national development thrust in Trinidad and Tobago, because those are persons who could be significantly contributing to the development of this country, as opposed to making them more vulnerable to gangs and crimes. And we don't understand, if we don't deal with the input side, we're going to have to put more money in national security on the output side. And we don't seem to get that at all. As you said earlier on, the 30, 40-year-old mindset that, well, some people just lazy or some people just unmotivated, as opposed to socioeconomic issues, learning disabilities, undiagnosed challenges that they have, where if you get that right, you have a better opportunity to maximize their potential and move the society forward. We just don't seem to get that. We're still somewhere in that neo-colonial mindset that of bright and lazy, or bright and quote-unquote dancy. And that's just not the case in a modern contemporary education mindset or philosophy.
I agree with you 100%. I'm a representative for constituency that has a large rural component. And so, I visit a lot of the primary schools. Well, we only have 2 secondary schools in my district, but a number of primary schools. I went to the Brasso RC primary school, the Tabuquite RC primary school, the Tabuquite Presbyterian, and as well as the Gasparilla government. These are all different primary schools, and they've managed, teachers using their own initiative, their own money in some instances, right? Understanding the community that they are teaching, introduced the agriculture spaces and the care of animals into the curriculum as almost like a extracurricular. And so you have these students, primary school students, coming out and taking care of the gardens in the schools, taking care of the animals in school, and learning a skill set, but also learning a skill set that they utilize in their homes, because they have to do these things at home as well. And so creating that space, understanding that different communities require different things and the exposure is different, and so that's why I can tell you, even though it is a frustrating process, I have seen how many persons are absolutely determined to make changes, and it is just to get that change under an umbrella of policy and get the people get the resources in the hands of the people who are really willing and able to do the work. And we can absolutely see the differences that we want to make.
That's the most diplomatic vote for us ever here.
Well, still an important message, Paul. Still.
Yeah, it is. I fully agree. I think because we can't keep talking about the same things, the same decade after decade after decade. And because a political entity changes either way, the continuity, the progress in the country is stymied. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Yes.
Anita, I couldn't have you here and not get your opinion on what's happening in Tobago. I know that UNC has traditionally not had an interest in Tobago in terms of electoral politics. However, there's a situation, and I'm sure as a future UNC leader, you may have an opinion. In terms of the voice note that came out with Farley Augustine, allegedly, and another member of the THA, maybe alleging some sort of corrupt activity in terms of funding and so on, money being used to spread propaganda. Do you have any thoughts on that? Has it been a topic in the UNC at all?
A topic in the UNC? It hasn't. It hasn't been a topic in the UNC. I came across, the news articles and whatnot, and I think it's always interesting what people choose to focus on and how they choose to focus on it. And I think the triggering part of that was this idea of what does propaganda mean, and if anything in that conversation had been just phrased differently, it would be a non-conversation.
That's an interesting response. If that were a voice that we recognize as cult member, would the UNC have the same response?
I mean, the UNC has been talking about the use of Ministry of Finance funding to fund what is essentially a propaganda page, which is why I'm saying that it is really funny when you think about how the information is interpreted and whatnot, that you have persons on the state payroll that have been using their personal spaces to create machinery. And so look, there is an important space, a very important space for the discussion of how new media is implemented. You saw it happen in the American elections with the discussion of how Russia can be able to. It's a different discussion in Trinidad and Tobago, but it's an important discussion that I think we ought to have without
the issue wasn't necessarily for propaganda or what you classify as propaganda. The issue for me was planting people in the THA using state funds to pay them to do that as opposed to the THA work. So I just want to be clear about that.
I'm happy you cleared that up, Paul, because I was about to tell you that.
Hold 1 second, right? I understand that, right? When you talk about whether or not you are putting into a space, now putting into a space a communications unit, for example, or that the THA's work, right? The work of the THA right now could be understood as the work of the party that is in charge, correct? Not correct?
Yes.
And therefore, a discussion on how you educate or disseminate information to the public about the work that you've been doing. That is a normal part of the course discussion. It is really the choice of words that has created the discussion. And he said,
well, I disagree. I think there was some sort of sinister intention in the words. And I have no problem with persons being hired to do communication and the PR work, because it's happened on the other side too, and there's been a conversation about it on the other side about persons being hired to do communication work in parentheses. Let's not pretend, and that has been denounced also. But hiring people in a general sense, that wasn't what I got from I heard in the other tape. I got somebody sitting down and planning to do something unsavory, quite frankly.
Using public funds.
I think on that issue, I'd be interested to hear the clarification, if any is forthcoming.
But we haven't. That's the thing. The person at the center of the allegations has said nothing.
Right. I'd be interested to hear the clarification. I will certainly say, look, I've lived through hearing certain things. understanding of how all these systems work. And I'll give you an example, right? One of the most exhausting times in my political career has been the discussion of Cambridge Analytica and what it meant for Trinidad and Tobago. To be clear, the 2009-2010 space, I was still in my university career. I was in New York, but I was studying the use of these types of machinery and data collection and how to use it in systems. And to hear, you know, how it has been discussed and the creation of the spaces where you get people very fearful. I mean, that has been an interesting space for me to exist in as a person who understands political communication, the future of politics, the future of data analysis in creation of public policy, etc. I mean, it is an interesting discussion and one that I would always want to pursue without the accusations of what is sinister, what is this, without all of that coming into it, and just a thorough understanding of what it means to be communicating.
You don't think driving fear into people can be used as a political tool?
Of course. Listen, that's not what I'm saying. That of course it can be. That of course it can be a political tool. And I'm saying that in this instance, right? Still to this day, right? I've listened to Faris Alwari, Stuart Young, etc. People who I think should be able to process information and make a sensible enough argument at times, misrepresent things in such a way that it is and to create for the public this idea that people come into mind control you or something. It's insane, and that's the kind of conversation that I really don't ever wish to participate in, because that's the same issues with politics that we keep going back to, and how we communicate with the public and what we're telling the public we have to offer, which is just that don't vote for the other side. We not tell you what we have to offer, but let people bad. And I think
if the other side is alleged to have been involved in certain activities, why are you against the other side or the main side telling people or reminding people?
That's not it. I'm saying an honest discussion. When you think about how the discussion played out, it was not a matter, it was not a serious conversation, because what they were discussing were clips from a Netflix documentary and an unverified book. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So look, here we are now discussing a voice note, right? And I'll grant that like I said before, I'm very interested in hearing the clarification once it is forthcoming. And that's something I think we could discuss, the clarification, but everything else, it just kind of creates this space for a back and forth that isn't beneficial to anybody.
So is it that the UNC is not going to demand an explanation or clarification of what they would have heard? As a party that just formed the government and aspiring to be in government again, don't you think that it might be incumbent on the party to ask for clarification of that voice note that is alleging certain corrupt activities?
For the United National Congress, what matters most to us as service delivery to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and on the issues of service delivery and the use of public funds, whether or not how you look at that clarification. Again, I really think, having listened to the voice note myself, that we are that space, once it is clarified, will be something that we can all understand to be part of the course within political communications across the board.
You see, you're so engaging. We went 10 minutes over. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so very much for having me. It is always a pleasure. And I hope everyone stays safe and dry in this weather that we're having. I don't know if it is the same on the northern end of the island.
Yes, it is. It's very rainy.
It's pretty much.
It's bad in Arima.
How bad is your situation on in Tobago this morning?
We've had one temporary, and there's some bridge construction going on, and the temporary access road has washed away, and then we have some flooding, minor flooding, not major flooding at this time, thankfully, but we have some access issues with certain points being you're unable to access certain points right now.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Well, MP Anita Haynes, thank you so much for being with us on the Power Breakfast Show this morning. All the best.
Thank you very much. I take care.
All right. Have a great day. Be safe. All right. Of course, as you heard, that was MP for Tabakeet, Anita Haynes. All right. Let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief. A bit late, but better late than never.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Opposition Senator Anita Haynes has suggested that the opposition is unlikely to support the implementation of property tax in its current form. Speaking on Power 102 Digital's Power Breakfast Show this morning, she explained that the UNC had several issues with the planned implementation of the